when we submitted our picks for everything, I submitted my pick that I believed UConn would win the championship. And when I was asked who the most outstanding player was, said Paige. And I think that this is just that redemption moment. I thought coming into this tournament, we would see a different energy from Paige Bueckers because it feels like she's been forgotten. It feels like we don't appreciate it as much. And then what have you seen? I mean, the number of times, and it's not just the stat line on it. I mean, 40 points, career high. That's impressive. It's the fact that when these games just need a moment, a momentum push, something, it's Paige that every single time seems to stroke a brilliant three out of nowhere with somebody in her face. And it's the shooting when it matters most that separates. Like, this UConn team has been separating itself with these quick burst runs where it's close game, then it's not. And then it tightens a little bit and it's not. And Paige is the juice behind that. So as much as we talked about Sarah Strong and AZ Flood and why they deserve a ton of credit, I thought Paige was going to be the most outstanding player of this tournament. I think Paige is the most outstanding player in this tournament, and I feel better than ever that Paige and UConn are going to win this championship because they are playing on a different level.
I think that kind of goes along with what I learned, and it's that every team needs its Robin, but also every team needs its Batman too, and you can't have one without the other. I mean, we see that with Rory Harmon and Madison Booker. I mean, against TCU, Madison Booker was silent in the first half. It was Rory Harmon that carried a majority of the offensive load. In the second half, when TCU was wearing them down a little bit and they were getting it closer, then Madison Booker did Madison Booker things. We see the same thing with Paige Bueckers and Sarah Strong and AZ Flood. Really, Sarah Strong in the tournament has been outstanding, which is even more impressive considering this is her very first tournament ever. You look at UCLA, you need Lauren Betts and you also need Kiki Rice. You look at South Carolina. I mean, they got a whole team full of Batman because they've had a different leading scorer in every single tournament game so far. So those supplementary scores are so key. But then you look at USC. Maybe that USC UConn game goes differently if Juju Watkins is on the floor. Maybe it doesn't. Like, maybe UConn still wins. Maybe Paige Bueckers is still fantastic and puts up 30 plus. But maybe USC wins that game if they have Juju Watkins. And I know that that's a hypothetical that is just going to drive that entire USC fan base and team crazy. And I hate that we now are kind of living in that world of uncertainty. But USC very clearly missed Juju Watkins in a matchup like that. They were able to beat Mississippi State and Kansas State without her with their supplementary scores. But when they came up against a true national champion contender, they missed that Batman. You need both.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what I learned is supplementary scores, yes, but just you need X factors in the tournament. You need players that maybe you haven't expected them to play this way. Maybe they has showed glimpses of this throughout the season, but when it's all said and done in tournament time, they're the X factor. I think of Texas women's basketball, who's now going to a Final Four for the first time since 2003, and I'm in Birmingham literally right now. I've been doing their last two games for Westwood One, and their game to get to the Elite Eight, it was two freshmen off the bench that scored in double figures, Jordan Lee and Brianna Preston, that made the difference for them. Their game last night to get to the Final Four, it's Kyla Oldacre, their backup big that came into the game, gave Sedona Prince a tough time. She only scored 4 points, didn't get in double figures, didn't have double figure numbers in rebounding, and it's an X factor big. And I'm talking to Vic Schaefer, and I'm like, Coach, like, how do you get it every time where your players off the bench are so ready to make huge impacts in game-to-game situations? And both times, it's because the game called for more guards, that the freshman guard stood up, right? The game called for more bigs, so the big stood up. And he's just like, we stay primed and we stay ready. I even think about USC. Like, I don't know if you would have told me if Juju got hurt, that they would win 2 games in the tournament without her. I wouldn't have banked on that. I 100% probably would have banked on a blanket upset. But Avery Howe, like Kennedy Smith, those 2 freshmen combined and had double figures to get them to the Elite Eight games. So to me, it's all about the X factors this time of year. Yes, like I Fitz, you talking about Paige, and I'm just like, I like proud of Paige, because she's like our basketball child that we've all grown up and see and blossomed. But this is it right now. Like, the best basketball that Paige can play in her career is going to happen right now. We're going to see it right now because we know that the next level is going to get tough hard. And then she's going to be a rookie again, and she's going to have to figure it out. But I think the X factors for me, at least on the women's side, have been the difference. And the stars are going off cool, but who's coming off the bench and really making a difference? Who's coming off the bench and really doing something that's going to shock the world? And I just love players that are ready when their names are called.
And that's, I think, what makes UConn feel like the Cinderella in a world where we don't have a Cinderella. And it's crazy to call UConn a Cinderella when they've won 11 national championships and they've been to 16 of the last 17 Final Fours, and they have the best player in the sport. But Paige's story that we've all followed, that we've all fell in love with, this run feels very Cinderella-esque, doing it for her. So yeah, I totally agree there.
Let me give some credit to UCLA. Because Caroline has asked me several times since we started March Madness, like, Ice, what's going to be the first number one seed to drop? And every time I said UCLA with full confidence. No disrespect to UCLA, because I'm really happy for them. But it's the first time ever that they're in a Final Four. I mean, the way that Lauren Betts and Corey Close has guided this team has been fun. But it's also cool when you get a team in the Final Four that's doing something for the first time. Like, it just means a little bit more. And the storylines are just so much better because, they're creating history. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I just love talking about basketball. Like, y'all really don't know how happy I am.
By the way,
my eyes
not
are
for
bleeding,
nothing,
but my heart's happy.
we've had some conversations even on this show about, is UCLA it? Is UCLA not it? They really haven't even been that tested in the tournament compared to everybody else. Like, they've kind of made it look a little easy. I'm just I'm just saying, like I said earlier, there's been moments in the UConn games where you're like, man, I don't know. UConn's going to have to turn it on at some point. South Carolina has had some close finishes in this bad boy. And UCLA's over here just like doing the damn thing. And we're all just sort of sitting back saying, well, I mean, it's UCLA. Let's see. I mean, look, I picked UConn, South Carolina before this whole thing turned out as my championship game. So I'm not changing that pick, but still, man, I don't know. Like, I do feel like UCLA's over here just saying, keep sleeping, y'all. Like, it's fine. We'll do this. No pressure on us.
I was with Ice all the way. I thought, okay, well, we got Juju and USC. We've got Paige and UConn. We've got Indon Stately We Trust in South Carolina. This UCLA team's been playing with fire all season long. They lost to USC twice in the regular season. What they did to LSU when Lauren Betts was in foul trouble. If you'll allow me, please, to put my purple and gold tinted glasses on as an alumni of LSU, when Lauren Betts was sitting on the bench in foul trouble, I thought, hell freaking yes. This is the opportunity. Their big is gone. Their leading scorer is on the bench. Like, this is your opportunity to step up, get a comfortable lead going into halftime. And then when Lauren Betts comes back out, hopefully you build upon that lead even more and you can just kind of give yourself some wiggle room. That's not what happened. It was Gabriela Jaquez and it was Kiki Rice and it was the rest of this team that stepped up and got the lead at halftime. And then when Lauren Betts came back in, it was just kind of game over from there. I feel like I saw a different level of UCLA when they were Lauren Betts-less that now gives me this like newfound confidence. All of that being said, I'm still picking them to lose to UConn. I picked UConn, South Carolina in the national championship game. I still feel confident in that pick. But to give credit to UCLA, I feel like they've done more with less than I expected in the tournament, Fitz.